All right. Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to the relationship series, season 3. We are back here today with another fun episode um, for us all. And we are super excited today. Happy Black History Month again, by the way, for those who are celebrating. Um, and we are here to continue to have transformational conversations about how to revolutionize our relationships. And we continue to do the work, we continue to heal for real, and we continue to sow what we want to grow. I'm Genevieve. Y'all know me. I am a speaker, I'm a therapist, I'm a coach, and I'm a world traveler. Y'all know I love to travel. Again, I love to say this that I am not an expert in this field. But I am a passionate person. I struggle in relationships just like everybody else, but I love relationships. And if you've been around for any amount of time, you will know that I discovered my passion for relationships when I encountered crazy relationships as a teenager. And I thought to myself, my goodness, there has to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to do this. And since then, I've just been in pursuit of some of those better ways to be in relationship with other people, with our fellow human beings. So I love it. Thank you guys so much for being here, for rocking with us for all this time, for these seasons. Thank you for your enthusiasm, your passion, your questions, your shares. And of course, I always welcome open sharing and open conversation. Today, I'm especially excited because I want to welcome my friend and our guest, Rene Campbell. And she is a passionate person as well when it comes to relationships. She is an elite matchmaker and love coach. She's been doing it for over 20 years. She believes that we all can experience an epic love story, to be pretty frank. And she comes in with thought-provoking insights, and she challenges us to think differently about ourselves and about relationships. And I'm very happy to welcome her today to speak with us and to share with us her own wisdom, her own insights about relationships, about love, and even about her own journey. So we'll welcome Rene to speak with us. Again, you guys can follow her instructions, her lead, as she shares today. Welcome, Rene.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Genevieve. And it's my pleasure and honor to be here. There's so much insight that you give, and I love how we share. I love how we connect. And it goes back to what we're saying about building healthy relationships. And, on that journey, allowing others to join you. And, I just want to say this because sometimes we get to our age, a particular age, as they say, and, we say to ourselves, how do we meet friends? And it's really just by the energy you put out there, allowing yourself to connect with people on a deeper level, to channel that glowing energy to connect with others. So today we're going to talk about relationships, as she said, and mostly pertaining to love, and romance, but also platonic, because I am a huge advocate on having healthy relationships with yourself, with others, within your workplace, and just overall in general, and knowing how to connect with people all across the board, not just in your love life, but truly, truly just on an everyday basis. All right, so the agenda follows. We're going to talk about the definitions of love relationships. We're going to, read a few quotes, the stats, benefits, how this is going to truly benefit you. A lot of the times we think about love as how can I give? How can I do more? But let's talk about how you can receive from this in order to be a better lover and receive love on a deeper level. And we're going to challenge you a bit. We're going to let you know what's coming up, and then we're going to have question and answers. But of course, if there's a question that pops into your head, please feel free to put it in the chat, because sometimes if you wait, you might forget. And, as we're in the moment, we can definitely answer questions as well. All right, so this is for you if you have not experienced intimacy or connection to your satisfaction. You avoid intimacy or connection. You have not intentionally pursued intimacy or connection with self or others, and you want to learn more about intimacy and connection and how you can enhance your life and relationships. So before I continue, I just want to share a little bit about my journey real quick and how I got into the dating and love coaching. And it truly was from my upbringing. I grew up in a household where love was an abundance. When I mean, I some days I think and I reflect and I say, you know, God, thank you, because this is not something everybody gets to experience. A wonderful mother. When I talk about strong, independent, but also was available to be receptive to receive love from her partner, and knew how to walk in her femininity, but knew how to be a strong Black woman as well, because that's what we talk about when we say balance, right? You can be all of these things, as Proverbs 31 says, but you can also allow yourself to receive love as well. So like I said, I grew up in a house of abundance of love, and I wanted to have others experience that as well. And not just in, like I said, their relationships, but in platonic relationships as well. So I'm on this journey. And of course, marriage has taught me a lot, a lot. That's something I talk more about when I'm doing, coaching sessions. I share as well, but marriage has taught me a lot. So I combine all of that wealth of knowledge, and then I pour it right back into everybody else. All right. So intimacy. What is intimacy? So many of you know the acronym where it says into me see, right? It's that depth of seeing me naked, and not naked without clothes, naked meaning like just being vulnerable, a feeling of closeness and connection in an interpersonal relationship. It is an essential part of intimate relationships, a quality of relationship in which the individuals must have reciprocal feelings, right? So it's not just about you, it's not just about me, it's about us together. How can we pour into each other and receive and also give back to others? A level of trust and emotional closeness towards each other, and are able to openly communicate thoughts and feelings with each other. So we know, I have here, feelings will fail. So a lot of the times we forget that relationships are about not your emotions. Because if we follow our emotions, sometimes it will fail us. If you're in a relationship now and your husband says something that you don't like, and you decide, well, I'm just not gonna cook dinner for him tonight because I'm super upset, and you're going off of your feelings and not necessarily the fact that it's something that you do regardless of, how you feel in the moment, because, feelings will fail you. So now we talk about connection. So a relationship in which a person, thing, or idea is linked or associated with something else. The sense of closeness and belongingness a person can experience when having supportive relationships with those around them. Connection is when two or more people interact with each other and each person feels valued, seen, and heard. And that is the true essence of connection. Is, am I listening to you? Am I allowing you the space to say how you feel? And understanding that, as we say, listening to understand and not respond. So how connected am I to you? A lot of times as well, you get to a place where you know the depth of someone without them even having to say the words, because you observe them, you listen to what they're saying, you allow yourself to really get intimate with them and get to know them in a way where, you might be in a relationship for 20 years and you say to yourself, I don't even need him to say how he feels. I don't need her to say how she feels. I can read her body language. I could read her demeanor. I noticed during the conversation when I said something, her demeanor changed. So now that allows me to ask the questions, so I said something, and, how do you feel about this? Feel free to tell me how you feel. Inviting people in to feel connected, right? So we have here a quote by Rene Brown, and it defines connection as energy. And I'm going to stop there for a quick second, because when you think about energy, if you are a Christian person or even a spiritual person, we were created by energy. So that energy translates and attracts whether we are, inviting or not. So we have to think about connection as energy as well, that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, as we just mentioned, when they can give and receive without judgment and without expectation, because sometimes we really think, well, I'm going to do for you with the expectation that you're going to do for me. Yes, love is reciprocal. We're not going to debate that. But oftentimes we find ourselves in situations where I'm going to watch the level of giving that you do in order to know how much I should give in return. And truly, we should just give an abundance. And if we see that it's not being reciprocated, then we have conversations on a deeper level saying, hey, I feel like I'm pouring into you more than you're pouring into me. Let's have a conversation about that, what that looks like for me. I would like more of this. And allow yourself to have those conversations, but never feel that you're gonna just stop loving, and hope that that person will then say to you, oh, I notice you've changed, what's happening for you. But allowing yourself to have those conversations openly, but never stop giving or doing less because someone else can't meet your needs. And when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. So now we talk about intimacy versus isolation. So the age group that this is based on is between 18 and 40. So this is a theory that Erickson developed in his practicing. So the definition is, as people mature, right, they start to contemplate romantic relationships and friendships. Individuals need to develop the capacity for positive intimacy. Achieving success during this stage leads to strong, meaningful connections. However, flattering at this time can, I don't even know if I'm saying that word right, can cause long life loneliness. So as we know, the more you engage in wanting to have these intimate relationships, these deep connections, you may find yourself, as we say, not being able to have these meaningful connections with people that you interact with, which can make you feel lonely and isolated, especially if you're in a relationship with someone who can't meet your needs. You can feel lonely. We know that there's people that are married and they live like roommates because they're not able to have those intimate connections and build on them and foster them and, pour into them. So you have this feeling of loneliness. So the example is cultivating a long-lasting romantic relationship necessities forming an intimate bond with your partner while also maintaining autonomy. Those who can effectively balance these two aspects of the relationship tend to create strong, mutually beneficial relationships. And I would add to this as well, allowing people to be their individual, like have an individual life. So if you want a deeper connection, I would say, especially if you're in a romantic relationship, each person's identity would need to be fostered and valued in order for them to feel like they can reconnect with you, because oftentimes people lose themselves in intimate relationships trying so hard to please somebody else that they lose sight of who they are because it's outside of their nature, they're outside of their love language, they're doing things that they're not necessarily used to, and then they start to lose themselves. So we talk about here what is intimacy and connection. So it's like working out, right? If we are to be honest and real, working out, going to the gym, a lot of that takes discipline, and the there's not a lot of passion behind wanting to do something like that because it takes a lot from you. So when we talk about intimacy and connection are part of your relational body, think of them as muscles that you do when you're working out, that you utilize when you're working out. Intimacy and connection begin with self. So again, let's go back to working out, right? You begin your journey. You may get support from a coach or a fitness trainer, but the work relies on you. You got to be disciplined to say, I am going to show up at the gym. I am going to do this workout because it's going to be beneficial to me. It's going to make me feel better. I'm going to be healthier. So when you think of love, intimacy, and connection, it's the same thing. I'm doing this in order to have better relationships, to enjoy life on a deeper level by connecting with others around me, because this is only going to benefit me. It's not going to be easy all the time. It's not going to be easy to not want to cuss somebody out when they tell you something that they shouldn't say, and you're trying to hold your tongue, right? Because you're trying to be a better person, you're trying to love different. Those are things that are not going to come easy sometimes, because we're quick to want to, tell somebody about themselves, and it's always not nice. Intimacy and connection are a process of discovering one another. So the more open you are to learn and to grow and to want to understand somebody, it allows you to connect deeper and to build those relationships when you think of love as we and not me, right? So it takes time to develop new habits. So never beat yourself up because you feel like you're not getting the hang of love. Maybe you're in a new relationship and someone is truly, like I said, they come from an abundance of love, and you yourself now are healing. Maybe you came from a relationship that wasn't the greatest, and now you're learning these new habits. It takes time, but this is where transparency comes in. This is where vulnerability comes in. When you now get to say to yourself, I want love. Like, I want a deeper connection and I don't know how, but can you help me? Can you be patient? Can you allow me to make mistakes, but can you correct me with love? Because love is truth, love is honesty, love is kindness, love is patience. So you have to like be able to say to people, I need help, and this is how you can help me, to build healthier relationships. Because we have to remember, love is an action word. It requires doing and more doing until you get the hang of it and you're more comfortable in the space of love. All right, so we're going to talk now about the art of intimacy. And here we're going to talk a little bit more about like masculine and femininity, not in depth, but that's something that you can always DM me if you want to know more about the aspects of love, intimacy, connection in regards to masculine and femininity. So I think of it this way: men and women were created as opposites. We know this, opposites in so many ways, but in order to maintain balance. But similarly, to connect intimately, we truly require the same characteristics of love, but it just shows up differently. So polarity is a concept of masculine and feminine characteristics. Masculinity could be seen as doing and femininity as receiving. So I always give this example because I think it explains it so well when we think of our genitals, right? Men give, women receive. And then what do we do when we receive? We take what we get and we 10x it, as they say. We multiply it. So when we get love from a man, we multiply that and we give it back to him. So it's only fair and makes sense for him to pour into you, because you're going to give that much more back to him. Understanding this concept can create long-lasting, meaningful relationships. So if you desire true intimacy, polarity allows you this space to do that. Sorry, I was trying to read my notes, but I can't. Yeah, there we go. Sorry. So if you desire true intimacy, polarity is a must, allowing a man to feel respected, right? Admired, feel like your hero, have a peaceful environment around you, a sense of calm. Likewise, allowing the woman to feel loved, cherished, protected, um, you know, just beautiful, and pouring into her to make her feel like she is number one. But we know trauma can truly affect how we show up in this space when we talk about masculine and femininity. And as Black women, this is, and Black and brown, I would say, to be honest, this is something that truly affects us, because a lot of the times we grew up in homes maybe without the presence of a man. So how do you now learn how to treat a man if you weren't really around men? And then you may say to yourself, well, I have brothers, but then your brothers now grew up without the male presence as well. Let's say if you're, all in the same home. So now he's lacking those skills to show you maybe what a true man acts and thinks and looks like in the sense of how to treat a woman. So then you grow up and then you get into these relationships and we sometimes don't know, what does it look like to be loved from a man? What does it look like to be protected? What does it look like to have someone say, I am here for you. I'm going to do my best to make sure that you are taken care of. So what does that do now? Sometimes it pushes women into a masculine role. So she ends up carrying the load. She ends up being the giver, the receiver, or not necessarily the receiver, but she's doing, and not able to receive. So these are the things that we talk about that really affect how women and men show up in our relationships. So will you be my Valentine? Are you looking for a date? Are you looking for a mate? I specialize in that as a matchmaker and a dating coach. I can help you foster love and find your way and navigate dating. So if that is the space that you're in, let me know. All right. So now we're going to talk about a few stats. Um, and first we want to say, like, we really want, as I said, especially Black women, every woman deserves love. But we know the stats really say, and I don't have that stat with me now, but you can always Google it when you have time. Um, if Black women are more open, they would have more options than they honestly think. And it might not be something that's on your radar, because sometimes we really advocate for our Black men and we want Black love so much. And sometimes it doesn't happen, honestly and sadly. So we have to be open. We have to allow ourselves to, and I said, be open, be open, be open, be open. If you truly want love, allow yourself to connect with your heart and not your head. And you can want what you want, because I'm gonna keep it real. I knew I wanted a Black man. That was it. I was like, Lord, please, I want a Black man. I do. But nonetheless, I was open because I said, you know what, at the end of the day, your will be done. Because I want love. I want love. I wanted at 34, I wanted love. I wanted to have a family. I wanted those things. So I said to myself, you know what, God, your will be done. And I just left it there. And so be it. His will was done. So we talk about marrying your best friend. This is a stat that's like, if you Google it, it's all over the internet. 70% of, they say, of divorces, no, sorry, you eliminate divorce by 70% if you marry your best friend. So marrying your best friend doesn't mean that you're going to start scrolling through your phone and like going back to high school and Facebooking people and saying, hey, you want to connect? What it means is building a friendship with someone first. So removing all the thoughts of sex and intimacy, and just allowing yourself to get to know someone on a deeper level. And it doesn't mean that this has to be done over the 5 years. So you meet someone, you're dating, and you're like, well, we got to be friends first. That's what Rene recommends and stats. And you date for 5 years. No, it just means in the beginning, you're actually going to allow yourself to not think about the intimate moments with that person. So I know there's some coaches that say, no kissing for 30 days or 60 days, whatever the case might be, whatever it is that you want to do to avoid, being super intimate with somebody right off the bat. Allow yourself to get to know them deeper than you normally would when you were dating in your past, right? And then we talk about the most common reasons for divorce. And I put this here because, oftentimes we always say, it's money. We know this. That's one of the stats. And it's adultery. And adultery not necessarily meaning that it's your fault. Sometimes you're doing your best and one partner decides it's not enough. But why I say this is important to know is because it's something that it just seems like it's something that we keep, like going through in the cycles of the years after years after years of stats. It's always intimacy and connection. And ultimately, that's what adultery is. One partner doesn't feel like they're getting enough. And it could be emotional. Sometimes it's not even sexual. It's the emotional gratification of someone listening and hearing what I have to say. And oftentimes that's how adultery starts. It's that feeling of, you listen to what I'm saying. I feel myself around you, whatever the case might be. And then the other stat here is nearly 70% of divorces are initiated by women. And I think that's so important to know, because when we don't feel loved as women, the relationship's over. Like, pretty much, right? Like, the minute you feel like you're not being seen, you're not being paid attention to, he's not noticing you, he doesn't want to be around you, you're going to feel unloved. So this means women actually have more control than they think. And I think sometimes as women, we think we don't. But if we go back to femininity, once we start doing the work, not saying that it's our fault, your fault, not saying that you have like you caused the relationship not to work, but we have more power than we think. And Genevieve and I always talk about this, where I'm like, if women only knew the power that they had within them, like, we can impact with our influence if we truly do the work on ourselves and learn how to have those deeper love connections and understand polarity, as I mentioned earlier, masculine and femininity. If we allow ourselves to do these things, I'm telling you, you would be surprised how quick a man can turn around once you really start to lean into your femininity. And I mean, like, it's instantly, like, it can change the trajectory of your relationship in like a day or two. As simple as that. So we're going to talk about practical acts, things that you can actually do today to have a better love, better, deeper connection, and better love connection. So number one is disclose more of how you feel. Simple as that. Just be vulnerable. And as I said earlier, get naked, and not get naked meaning like take off all your clothes, but get naked meaning see me, see into me. Like, I'm going to allow you to actually get to know me in the depths of who I am. And if you reject that, that's on you. If you embrace that, great. But we really have to allow people to truly get to know us, and know us meaning like where are you coming from? Like, what's your history? What was your relationships like in the past? And why are you this way? And not what's wrong with you. That's one of the quotes. I think Oprah has a book that's written with her and a psychologist. And that's what it is. It's asking those questions. Like, it's not what's wrong with you. What made you this way? How did you
I
get
think
here?
the book is called What Happened to You?
What happened to you? Thank you. And I
Good book.
love that
Good book.
because it's a great book, right? Like, what happened to you? Let's talk about that. So then, and likewise, the man can share, you can share. Like, let's talk about what happened to us. That way we can reconnect and help one another get through the process. Number two, make time for deeply emotional conversations, right? So, sometimes we just have surface level conversations, but let's really dive deep into some conversations with people around us to get to know them better. Do something new or big together, right? So let's say you're not a traveler. Maybe go on a vacation together, like without the kids, and without being in the same environment as you're used to. Do something that will make both of you guys enjoy one another again. Relish the routine, shake up the routine, spontaneity, right? Be spontaneous. Do something that you would maybe never do before, just to think outside the box. Ask and answer questions, learning how to gather data with the right words. So again, I'm a woman of words. Like, I love to use words to my advantage. So I always challenge people, like, how are you going to say what you need to say, but in a different way because you want a different result, right? And we know that's one of Einstein's quotes. Like, you're doing the same thing and expecting a different result. It's not going to happen. Nothing's going to change. So you really have to start saying to yourself, like, how do I need to change my language to make my man move? And when I say move, it's like get things done, and love me in a way that resonates with me. What words are you using? That is so important. And sometimes it's a matter of changing one word in a sentence to make it have more of an impact. And quickly, I'll give an example. Like, it's winter in Canada here. And let's say, your husband is supposed to, what do you call it? Do the driveway, shovel the driveway. rather than saying to him, oh, I thought you were going to shovel the driveway, or when are you going to shovel the driveway? You can simply park your car, like let's say you come home from work, park your car on the street and say, honey, I parked the car on the street. That way it's easier for you to shovel, right? So you're not telling him what to do. You're just reminding him in a way that speaks to him better. Um, share, safe, touch, right? So find out, how to interact with each other. That opens up a space for feeling seen, heard, and valued, but also making someone feel good and learning what that means for them, not what you want it to mean for them, but what does that look like for them. And take quizzes and know yourself more. Honestly, if nothing else, you hear from me ever, moving forward today, is really getting to know yourself. And in my program, that's actually the first step. Is the acronym is WAIT. Who are you? Because when you truly get to know who you are, you will attract from that energy. And they say like attracts like. So when you really allow yourself to be vulnerable with yourself and you're intimate with yourself, you will have better relationships with other people. And when we talk about taking quizzes, it could be the love language quiz. There's so many quizzes out there. Relationship attachment styles, personality quizzes, like are you a type A personality? What does that look like in your relationship? If you're a type A, I'm a type A, but I always say because of the Holy Spirit, it allows me to understand how to navigate and move in other spaces like a type B, to be more relaxed at times. So what does that mean for you? And what does that look like in your relationship? Because oftentimes, spouses or people around you feel that way. And I'll say this because I think it's important to talk about when I say your type A is I let people know I have high standards for myself. I have high expectations for myself, but I don't put that on anybody else. That's for me. So when you talk about being like a type A personality, you have to allow people the room to know I'm not expecting that from you. That's for me. That way it takes the pressure off them. And lastly, it says, do or do not, there's no try. And that's a quote from Yoda Star Treks. But I love it because that's really what it means. Like you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. There is no try. All right. So the benefits of why we're talking about this is it's for your benefit. It's always for your benefit. So we talk about growth, allowing yourself the gift of love that every human truly desires. So stretching yourself to give love in a new form, exciting ways, freedom meaning no longer afraid. You're not ashamed. You're not feeling rejected to participate in a deeper love connection that you've always longed for, right? So we have to have a sense of freedom to not be bound by what our past said, but what our future beholds. Quality relationships. So the gift of making connections with people that will honor your love language, values, your values are aligned, and attracting from that energy. Healing. So I have a motto where I say all ships sail the same way. So when you heal, you now allow yourself to have connections outside of just, like I said, relationships. It's platonic relationships. It's going to be beneficial for your future. So career advancements, business advancements, because a lot of the times the way you operate in a relationship is how you may operate in business, and how you might operate within your workspace. So when you start to heal and allow yourself to evolve in love and connection, and that's what we keep talking about, connection. It's not just love, it's how you connect to people. I'm telling you, doors will open. People will start, calling you for speaking engagements or business relations. Like they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to use Simone as an example. Like I met Simone's amazing. Like her energy is contagious. You need to reach out to her for whatever services she's providing. That's what we say when we talk about energy and healing. Like people are going to start to promote you just because they love being around you. And then now this is your personal challenge, and which is to act on what information you received today. So you're going to apply it. You're going to make some changes, the necessary changes for you to evolve and grow into the person that you want to be in your love life and your relationships. And then you're going to teach others. As I said, you got to impact with your influence, meaning allowing yourself to be the change you want to see in others and being available to be that vessel that is going to now help people to be a better version of themselves, and not by teaching them, like sitting down with them and saying, okay, so you're going to do A, B, and C, but you're teaching them through how you interact with them. And they're going to say, you know what, like I inspire to be more like her. Like she's always happy. She's so loving. She's so caring, compassionate, but she's also honest and straightforward, right? So marrying those things to allow people to see a different side of us and evolve as we're evolving as well. Um, you want to take it over, Genevieve, from here?
Yes, absolutely. I will surely do that. Thank you so much, Renee. Oh my God, so many nuggets, so many little tidbits, like gold nuggets that we can tuck away. I did see a couple of questions in the chat, so I will circle back to you, Renee, in just a moment. But thank you so much so far, for all that you've delivered, all that you've shared, all that you've poured out to us. Now we are receivers today. I don't know if we're functioning in our feminine and you're functioning in the masculine as the giver today, but yeah, we're super grateful and very appreciative for your words of wisdom and knowledge and passion, because I can hear the fire behind what you are sharing. So we'll get back to you in like 1 second. I just wanted to make everybody aware, as per usual, the Mentiverse app is available on Google Play as well as the Apple App Store. You guys can download it. All of our relationship series episodes are uploaded to the app about a week or two after we record them here. Last week's episode was not recorded, unfortunately. So I will re-record it and then upload it to the app. So you will have access to that information. Amazing conversation about how our Blackness impacts our relationships. But yes, we will upload that to the app. And then Renee, if you can help me out, go quickly to the next slide, and then I'll just talk about what we're doing next week. Next week, we have Jamie Sutherland with us. He is amazing, an amazing professor, teacher, therapist, just a phenomenal individual. And we are excited to have him come and share his wisdom with us concerning work spouses, a unique type of relationship dynamic that many people talk about and many people seem to fall into. And we want to talk a little bit about what all of that means to us. We'll talk about the concept. Are we okay with it? Is it a real thing? I don't know. Is it a recipe for disaster? Is it like the beginning of cheating? Is it the beginning of like emotional affairs and things like that? But it's a really big idea. And I've heard a lot about it, and so we want to bring it into this space where we talk about all things relationships, and we'll have Jamie Sutherland come and talk to us about that. It might be an antidote for work stress, to have a work spouse that we can talk to, and so on. But we'll talk about all of our opinions and have another transformational conversation then. And I want to turn it back over to Renee. Renee, I'm actually going to read a question from the chat. It says, you talk about leaning into my femininity. What exactly is that? If you could expound a little bit more on just the whole femininity aspect of things. I love the picture that you gave. But yeah, maybe just speak to that a little bit more.
So I would say, if we go back to the Bible, I just like to use that as an analogy when it talks about Eve being created out of Adam's rib. And real quickly, when you think about what the rib does, it protects the man, but not protects in a way where I'm going to make sure you have food, shelter, and all those things. It protects the most sacred parts of him, which is his heart, his feelings, his emotions, allowing him to have a safe space to be himself. So when we talk about femininity, that's one aspect of it, but also going back to receiving. And I want you guys to keep that picture of the genitals in mind. Like, it really is we as women are receiving. So let him pour into you, let him give to you, let him pour into you love, and not feel like you have to be his mother, because we're not doing that. We're not being mothers. We're not being sisters to our men, right? It's allowing him to be a man. and allowing yourself to receive as the woman that you should be. So in the sense of being taken care of, you know, letting him be the hero and not you finding ways to rescue him or help the situation. Because truly, if you're, and even if you're with a man that maybe hasn't leaned into his masculine energy, you can help him get there, but you would have to know more about how to be feminine yourself. So it's not this idea of how we look, how we dress, how we do all of that. It's really the act of, am I allowing myself to receive more? So are you doing too much? You know, are you paying all the bills? Are you having to remind him about his appointments? Are you having to cook, clean, and do everything and he's just receiving? Because now you're in your masculine. So I hope that answers it. And honestly, this topic really requires like, it's an in-depth conversation because there's so many layers to it. But in a nutshell, I would just say like it's really about allowing yourself to receive more and not do so much.
Yeah, okay, okay. I like that. I like that that analogy. And so maybe I wonder with you because you know the idea here is that we can lean into our roles as receivers as women. Um and I know there's some men on the line and maybe they might want to hear about the whole masculinity aspect of things, but the
Mhm.
image, right? The giver and the receiver and being able to in some ways shed or perhaps challenge some of the dominant narratives that we have received, and even um, some of the dominant, sort of behavioral patterns that we've developed over time, especially culturally speaking,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to our families of origin. Even that piece about um, maybe we've grown up in a single mother household or something like that, and we've learned to do, and so that's ingrained in us. That's our
Yeah.
default. That is part of our underlying belief and behavioral system, our worldview or schema. And so leaning into our femininity in terms of receiving and perhaps taking an under functioning role might be challenging for us, might be quite difficult for us to do. And maybe wondering about, maybe speak to how we can take baby steps, right? In terms
Mhm.
of developing some of those skills, or maybe working, some of those
Mhm.
femininity muscles, so to speak, to build that quality type of intimacy and connection in our relationships.
Mhm. Well, number one, I'll even go a step further before our relationship. It's as simple as allowing men to even open the doors for you. So, like when I'm going into the mall, I'll step back. If I know there's a man behind me, I'll literally like slow down so he can open the door for me. Because that helps me staying my femininity. Where why am I like it's just that concept of like let me receive. And it's not even about like the door itself, but it's like let me receive from a man. And I'm telling you, ladies, you'd be surprised. Like men love that. Like I find sometimes they're rushing to the door to get there before me so they can open it. Um, Another baby step I would say is asking for help. Like really asking for help from your spouse. And it's as simple as, hey babe, I'm really feeling overwhelmed. There's a lot on my plate. I would like more support in this area. That's it. Let him show up for you. And then the more you ask for help, he will then realize she needs me. She values me. And then what's going to happen? You're not even going to have to ask anymore because he's going to now show up and feel good. You're asking him for help. You're letting him know you need him. And he's going to be all over you, like they say, flies on. Yeah, or bees to honey. Let's use that analogy.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I see a comment in the chat. Becky says, I did that in my relationship and I can relate. Now I'm leaning into my femininity. I was a single mom, so I was used to catering alone to my kids.
Yep.
So she did that in her relationship. I don't know, Becky, if you want to throw your mic on and maybe tell us about how maybe some practical things that you're doing to lean into your femininity.
Well, at this time, I'm doing a lot of self-care to start with, so I can, weave within myself what, my value. I'm, working on my value as well, because then, I think on another note too, what I understood from my partner was like a guy don't like when you think or you act as if you can just do it all, because then they start feel like you don't need them. So it's
Right.
hard for them,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know. So that's why I'm I'm working on that, like I'm conscious of the person who was always the go-getter and doing everything. And then I realized, but I'm missing some stuff. I'm missing, him loving on me, in a feminine way, because I show up as a man for my
Mhm.
man. So, I'm doing a lot of things now personally, like, taking myself on dates, because then it will, when I date, then I know what I like in a relationship, you know? And just doing certain things for myself that pours into me, build my value, and, just do what feminine like to do, opposed to just doing all the hard work like a man.
Yeah.
But I think it why I say that, I was, as a single mom, I was just on this thing where I'm doing everything. I had to be the man and the woman in my relation, in my life with my children, that I took on, male or masculine role, and then I showed up that way in my relationship. So, pretty much a guy doesn't need a guy, and that affected me. So I just wanted to, shed some light on that from my personal experience, no?
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. And so true. Like, I mean, you recognizing your own responsibility to take care of yourself, but also to learn what you like, right? Being able to take yourself out and learn yourself. That means that you can then be really clear about what it is you would like to have, reciprocated in a relationship with someone else. And that's so
Uh,
big, so big.
Genevieve, I would just like to, it's Elizabeth, and I would just like to jump in here. um, I hear all of that, but I think sometimes what some women are afraid of is that when they hone into their femininity, they feel that they might be controlled.
Yeah.
So yes, so that's if I don't remember what the young lady's name is. If she could hone in on that,
Rene,
they feel Rene, yes, they feel that they may be controlled, so they're scared to do that. They're scared to let go of certain things and hone in on that femininity.
Mm-hmm. And that's an interesting concept, but I would say control is a different level of psychological like manipulation and abuse. Like I would say that's more leaning into like maybe how a narcissist would show up. So I think as a feminine woman, you're not losing any part of you, any essence. You're actually building up the muscles, as we say, more or less to ask for help and be open to receiving. So control really would mean that if a man feels he can control you, then some part of you would need like healing like that. I would say honestly that's a whole like different maybe conversation if women find themselves in those positions where the man seems like they're being more controlling. Then that the onus really is on him as an individual, and he's maybe, like I said, I don't like to use the word narcissist, but that's the only word that comes to my mind when if he's going to play that role, because any man that is a masculine, healthy masculine man, there is no control for him. He just wants to give and receive back from you peace, love, warm environment, calm. That's all he's looking for. So if it becomes controlling, that definitely is not the relationship for you to even be in.
Okay, great. Thanks for that
Yeah.
clarification.
Yeah. Good one. Good one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just responded to Denise. Denise was asking about the diagram, the picture that we were talking about, the word picture of the genitals of man and woman, and that reflecting our roles are sort of naturally defined roles as giver and receiver. And, you know, the umbrella terms that we use are masculinity and femininity, but they embody what the role is, that we were originally, let's say, designed to play.
Mhm.
And I love that. And you know, Elizabeth, you brought up a good point, because, you know, there's the fear of being controlled. It's funny because my fear is not being controlled, but almost the opposite, in that I have to almost dumb down. Like, I have to be less of who I am, be less of all that I am, if I am to sort of placate. That's the word that comes to mind. Placate a man, in, you know, in his masculinity. And so it's adjusting my mindset, you know, as it pertains to what it looks like to be empowered in my femininity, right? And part of it has been that, you know, I'm very ambitious. I love doing things. I love, you know, I'm an independent woman, and I can do it all, and Miss Independent and Beyonce and all the things and all the things. And you know, part of it is really being attracted to the kind of man that can handle my bigness, or my vibrancy, or my, you know, ambitiousness, or whatever it might be, and not allowing that to be an affront to him or an offense to him, right? I mean, I've dated guys, I've said, you know, I'm gonna go do my PhD, and they're like, oh, well, I don't have a PhD, but what does that have to do with me? Right? But it has something to do with them and how they feel, right? And so, you know, that if there's insecurity there about, you know, who they are and what they have and so on, then it might veer into sort of displacement when it comes to us playing our roles properly. But even just being able to, you know, share on that idea, right? You know, sometimes we feel like we can't be all that we want to be if we are operating and functioning in our femininity. But we really have to lean into femininity as a power, as opposed to something that hinders us. I don't know. Maybe you can speak to that, Rene.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you said. I think society norms have made us feel different about femininity, especially coming from being a Black woman, right? Woman of color,
Yeah.
whatever whatever it resonates with you. But what I will say is, because we don't know our history. So, you know, in my program, we talk about Proverbs 31. And I think so many people miss that. She was a wholesaler. She was a businesswoman. She was a mother, a wife. She was all of those things. And we know back in those days, if she was a wholesaler and a businesswoman, that woman was smart.
Yep.
That woman is equivalent to what a woman would probably have in this day and age, which is a PhD, right? Or a master's at minimum, to be able to maneuver all of that and still run her household. So when we talk about femininity, again, as Genevieve said, it's really empowering. Like, I read that scripture, I dissect it, and I go over it with my coaches, and it's mind-blowing to know, like, how a woman can balance her education, her experience, her knowledge and wisdom, but still be feminine as well. And I think, in a nutshell, feminine is for your household. We as women have to operate in masculine energy outside of our home, because masculine energy requires doing, right? So if you're in a high powered role, you are mostly masculine at work. But when you come home, that's your sacred ground to now just be, as someone mentioned, be the helpmeet, you know, be the receiver and rest. And femininity is just about resting in your home, and allowing your man to be, like I said, you know, be the driver. Because when he's out, he is in his masculine role as well. So at home, when he can pour back into you and you pour back into him as well, it's a beautiful balanced relationship.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to be mindful of our time, because you guys know I like to start you on time and get you out on time. But we've got 5 more minutes, and I want to know if you guys have any questions for Rene. Rene, maybe you can say something about, because I did get some questions in advance about sort of how you do what you do, this sort of matchmaking thing. And yeah, maybe you can say a little bit about that. I don't know if anybody has any questions about some of what we've touched on here today. But you can maybe throw that in the chat or raise your hand. But yeah, Rene will tell us a little bit about how she does what she does, some of her art and science of matchmaking. and yeah, you guys can take that
Mhm.
to the bank, so to speak.
Well, first I have everybody go through the 12-week program. It's 12 weeks. That way it allows you to really make the change that's necessary. When you go through that program, to be honest, that's usually all you need. And you will just attract this man or this woman. And I mean, like, that's something that I ask God for. Like, I'm like, let's date one and be done. Most of us are too old to be dating multiple people and having to go through that process of vetting. Date one and done. I said, Lord, just let them find the one. So usually you meet your match, your perfect match, just by doing the program. And if that's not enough, then there's a tier. So the next phase would be if you do online dating, I help you develop your profile, help you vet the right people to go out with, meet with, and profile matching as well. And if that's still not enough for you, then we can do full matchmaking where I go out and I vet these people, I find the matches, and you go on dates with them. And that is it. It's really simple, really easy, but most of the work starts with your mindset, starts with you. When you do the work, the possibilities are endless. Like, you will attract from that energy, 100% guaranteed.
All right. Yes, that sounds awesome. So if anybody is looking for a match, looking for sort of a mindset shift as it pertains to relationships and pursuing their purpose partner, pursuing their perfect match, Rene is the person for you. We will be collaborating and talking a little bit about what she can offer our guests here today. So we'll be putting together a little package for you guys. So reach out to me. Rene, how can they reach you? What's your tag, your your handle on in the socials?
Yeah, very easy to find me. Most of my handles are Elite Matchmaker _. And I have a page where I talk about love because I'm so passionate about love. As you guys know, it's Love You Forever, CO on Instagram.
Okay, so we have Elite Matchmaker _, and then we have, what's the
Love You Forever Co.
Love You Forever Co. Is that a on Instagram?
Instagram only.
Okay. All right. On IG. So I'll throw that in the chat so people can find you and they can reach out to you. And again, you guys can reach out to me as well. We can talk about how to get you guys matched up with the purpose partner of your dreams.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of single folks, single women that have chatted with me about that. And Valentine's Day is coming up, so everybody's sort of in the zone, in the love vibe. So reach out and let us know what it is that you guys need, because I do definitely believe that God wants love for us all, and that marriage and committed relationship is one of the ultimate forms of doing relationships on the earth. So we will wind down and close for today. Any last if you guys want to throw in the chat what you're going to apply, what you're going to change, what you're going to teach this week, how you're going to act this out, that would be great. Just a little nugget that you might want to take with you. And then before we close, I don't know, Rene, you have one last tidbit for us. Like, what do we need to go out and do right now, like in this in this day?
I would say forget about the past. Like,
Forget about the past.
Forget about the past. It's over. It's done. Move on. Let's make it happen. Let love be a priority for 2024. If you want it, get it. Simple. That's it. Done.
Awesome. If you want it, get it. Simple. So let the past be the past. Leave it where it belongs. Yep. And move forward and lean into love and all that love has to offer. And yeah, we know we want something, we attract it and all that good stuff. Denise says, be more of a receiver. Yes, there we go. So we're leaning into our femininity. Thank you so much, Rene, for being with us today.
My pleasure.
So appreciate you. It's been great. It's been fabulous. We will close out for today, and we will continue the conversation. Love yourself in 2024.
Yes.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Lean into that this week, and we will close. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for joining us for lunch, and we'll see you guys next week, Thursday. We will be at our regular time at 1 p.m. Thursday afternoon for Relationship Series Season number 3. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Simone, for being here. All right. Bless you guys. Have a great rest of the day. Oh my gosh.